Most streamers I've seen have a problem with Wook standing in the middle and not the Warrior of Light, but this is not the story of the Warrior of Light, but of Wook. Yeah, I mean, I was the center of... I mean, look, the Warrior of Light, I don't think... There's been periods where the Warrior of Light's kind of been the center, but I really feel like the journey's always been about other people, and the Warrior of Light discovering who they are through doing the right thing and interacting with other people. You know, it's not like we started the game like, yo, I'm Azem, time to fucking regain my shards and save the world. That's not how it worked at all. We were just some person, right? And learning the ways of Limsa Liminsa or of Ul'dah or of Gridania, and we just followed a path of what we thought was right and protecting the people that seemed like needed to be protected and gaining allies that seemed like the good allies and fighting back against the oppressors and doing that stuff. And I just think that in a lot of ways, you know, we only were able to have the focus on Azem and have the story arc that was Shadowbringers and the story arc that was Endwalker because we spent 6 or 7 years building up to it. I mean, I'm sorry, but Azem and the Warrior of Light were only so much a thing in Heavensward. It was only so much a thing in Stormblood. And as we got more and more hints, it built upon itself very nicely and in a meaningful way that resulted in something where we could have a big character-focused story arc towards the end. But what I want people to always remember is that we will find our way back there. Sometimes it's good to reset and focus on other people who need the help, to help the people and do the right thing because it's what we believe we should be doing, to fight back against the oppressors and to try to save a land from destruction. Because that's where we found ourselves. We didn't come here for that. We didn't come here for this, for all these things that have happened, but we do it because that's what Azem does. And you can rest assured that just the same way it happened before, that Azem will become another main thing, that our shards will be relevant, that the cosmological story happening on that level will be relevant. It just takes time. Right now, I think we're back more in a state of when we first started, a realm reborn. While we have a station this time, people know who we are, and that's great. We're back in a state where we as players can kind of get through that re-exploration. We can kind of be on the side again for a bit as we build a new cast, as we learn about new players. And let's be honest, man, I couldn't fucking stand Minfilia. There, I said it. So for some people, Wook Lamont is their new character that they can't stand. It may be Minfilia. You know, not everyone's gonna like every character. And that's the way that it goes. It's just the way that it goes. Urianger resonates more with me than other people for a very specific reason. Right? So, a couple of very specific reasons. And so, I just want to say that, like, you know, it doesn't excuse the critique or whatever, and it doesn't invalidate the critique of people about Wook Lamont. It's not to say that, oh, you just don't like her and that's okay. Like, there are valid criticisms out there. But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that don't let that overshadow the fact that at the end of the day, this game will return to being about the Warrior of Light, about the world of Hydaelyn, about the shards, about all of those things. And that we have to have periods of intermission, because if we don't, then we end up in a situation like World of Warcraft, where we are constantly stepping up and stepping up and stepping up over and over again to the point where there's no end of it. There's no end. There's no reset. There's no period where we have to go back through some of those growing pains. And I think that that's one of the big issues with Dawn Trail that people have, is that we're not just exponentially scaling like we used to. And I think it's a trend that MMOs have done for a long time now, that games have often done for a long time now, media in general, where there's always a bigger bad, there's always a bigger bad, there's always a bigger bad. And you need to have resets. You gotta have periods where, like, you can breathe from that, because it becomes overwhelming. And you just find yourself constantly trying to one-up yourself over and over. And then you find that you're writing yourself into a corner, and then you have to start inventing new characters that didn't make any sense like the first ones, you know? I've seen a lot of people who get tripped up by the fact that this expansion does downscale the threats. A lot of, I killed Medion, why does this game not allow me to one-shot Bakul Jaja or Zoralja right now? I think people are really in that way, I think people really underestimate what happened with the End Singer. Like, I think people don't realize that our incredible emotional bond to our allies is the only reason why we survived that. We are not God, which I think some people think we are, but we're not. We needed 7 other people, and Emmett and Hythlodaeus showed up. And we were, frankly, in a realm that we were able to use to leverage our incredible emotional bond to our characters. Like, what people have to realize is that what happened in Ultimate Duel is an exceptional situation. Like, literally, they all sacrificed themselves, and the emotional trauma that we carried with us, and the deep sorrow and loss of our allies, and the aspiring hope that somehow, some way they would come back, literally rebirth them through the power of emotion. Do you realize how insane that is? Like, that's a tremendously exceptional situation. So I really think that people have to like understand the nuance of those moments, because the meaningfulness of it is lost on you if you can't recognize like it was through 6 years of bonding and strife and turmoil and having each other's backs that got us there, you know? And I want you guys to remember that this is something that while the ancients had to a degree, they sucked at. The ancients were not in touch enough with their emotions. They were not open enough with one another. They were too etherically dense, literally, to have the emotional capacity that we do. They were so arrogant, blinded by their perfection of form as they saw it, that what you must realize is that, like, we are better than the ancients in so many ways. The only ways in which that we're lesser is that we're not as etherically dense, and perhaps we don't hold the same power of creation that they did. But at the end of the day, like, we're stronger than them in different ways, right? To the point where we're not willing to mindlessly sacrifice ourselves or our people in order to save our crowning jewel that is the star that we have shaped or whatever, you know? It's just not worth it. We recognize that the myriad lives and cultures and perspectives that were born from that absolutely catastrophic situation are beautiful and worth preserving. And if they weren't, then this all would have been done and dusted a long time ago. The ancients would have won, and our world would have been thrown into a state of suffering just like all the others. And so, to talk about one-shotting Bakul Jaja or Azor al-Ja, there's also one other factor that's just very obvious. This is a video game. And at the end of the day, we can't just become the most powerful person and then just start blindly trouncing everybody. That's boring as fuck. And I think some people are so like hero trope brained, red pilled or whatever, that they just want to be that. This overpowered reckoning that just walks across the land and shreds whatever gets in its way. And to me, that's not what the Warrior of Light is. That's not what the Warrior of Light is. Exactly, No Guard Knight. It's weird to be going around imposing our will on everything, which is specifically not what Hydaelyn and the 12 were about. And think about it. I feel like Derek, Oshan really drives this home yet again. The traveler of the world, learn the plights of the people. Even Derek was like, I prefer solitude generally, but honestly, the more I've spent around you and people, the more that I'm enjoying it. I still like my quiet time and stuff, but like even Oshan was a wanderer. Walk amongst the people. Don't go and just show up and tell them exactly what to do or how to fix their problem. It's about self-discovery. And that's what the 12 was all about, was that through discovering our own faith and understanding the function of our faith and how Dynamis affects things as well, we came to understand that the 12 were the very same concept of non-intervention, right? faith and hope kind of guiding the progression of people without coming down and changing it and just making it right. And I feel like in this way here in Tyrol, we kind of get to be a little bit of an Oshan, where we show up and we're not necessarily here to be like, yeah, I'm the fucking warrior of light and I'm here to tell you how to save your people. We're like, hey, what's going on? I was drawn here by this thing. It's nice to meet you and to just witness your people and to see what's going on here. And like, kind of, we're more like an Oshan in that we're the traveler, we're the wanderer who came here and now is seeing other people who, in the other instance, in the case of Oshan and us, it was us discovering who they are. And I just think that's beautiful. Like, that's what Azem is walking among the people and learning the ways of the world and how many different ways of the world there are, and recognizing that they're all beautiful and valuable in their own way. And yeah, I think that's that's how I see it in many ways. Like, we are a reflection of Azem in so many ways that even entities that I believe, though Azema is a thing, I get that, very inspired by Azem, like Oshan undeniably is, I just feel like I see a pattern there, right? I see Vana, I see Ardbert, I see Oshan, I see us, and I see a pattern among those people. And I think that it's a pattern of virtue that is not blinded by arrogance and pride. And it is a pattern of discovery that is not blinded by rejection and fear of the unknown. It is acceptance for all kinds of people, especially given the fact that it took a long time for us to even come to realize who we were, which I think is so important, recognizing our journey of self-discovery. How long did it take us to realize who the fuck we were? You know? How long did that take, right? And so I don't know. I think it all comes together for like a really beautiful, colorful tapestry of storytelling and intermingling of cultures and wandering the world, and I love that. I love that. I think that's awesome. So, man, you're good at what you do. Has anyone ever told you that? Yeah, just this morning, someone told me that, and yeah, I appreciate that.